Hi friends, today we have Molly Thompson from Juniata College with us. I'm excited to have you with me today virtually, Molly. It's great to meet you, and I'm excited to hear more about Juniata. I was just telling Molly I was on campus, but it's been a long time since I've been there. It did look like this picture that I do remember this view here. So I'm going to let you take it from here.
Perfect, thank you. I'm with Juniata College. I'm a Senior Associate Dean of Admissions, and I work with students all across the United States. And our role is really as personal admissions counselors. Our goal is to get to know you and to help you decide whether what we offer at Juniata and the climate and the culture we have here is checking all of the boxes that you have on your college search list. This is a photo from our main quad on campus. I think that science building is where you may have run into our Nobel Prize winner, Bill Phillips.
Yes, I had to tell Molly, I said, I remembered my tour very vividly because of that. We were touring and I just told her we were walking down a hallway in that building and he walked up and someone said, oh, this is one of our alums and he won the Nobel Peace Prize in physics. And we were like, what? It was crazy. So yes, that's awesome.
Absolutely. This is an aerial shot of our entire campus, and I love to show this one because it shows kind of everything, but it also shows how close our downtown area is. So the campus confines really go from this turf field and tennis complex all the way over to this football field in the middle of the screen. So you can see how close everything is. And yet what I appreciate is that we have so much green space. So this isn't a space where you feel like you're confined or that you look up and all you see are buildings. This is absolutely a place where you have space, both like literally and physically, and metaphorically as well. I think we give you the space to really think about who you are and who you want to be. And so right on the other side of the football field, you'll see that kind of clearing in the woods. That's our local hospital. So it's about a mile from campus, a really great place to do internships if you're tthinking about a work in the pre-health professions. We also have a strong health communications program that is able to do a lot of programs there. Public health is there. The hospital offers opportunities. So a great resource for us to have literally in our backyard. And then you'll see all of the other buildings in our town, and it kind of stretches down into our downtown area. Juniata is definitely located in a rural part of the country, but not an isolated part of the country. And I think that's a really important distinction. This is a place where if I wanted to walk to work today, I could have. I live 14 streets away, so it's about a 1-song ride in the morning on the radio. It's about a 15-minute walk. And students can also walk to restaurants, to bars, to cupcake shops, to movie theaters, to coffee shops, to grocery stores, to pharmacies. Everything is really in walking distance. So you don't get that isolated feeling like, there's nothing around you, which I think is helpful when you need to get out of campus and see other life.
Absolutely.
Some kind of fast facts about Juniata. We have about 1,500 students on campus. Each of our first year classes is about 400 students. Our students come from 39 countries and 37 states. 18% of our population comes from an underrepresented racial or ethnic background within the United States. And then an additional 10% of our students come from a country outside of the United States. We have a large group of students that come from India, Vietnam, China. We also have a program that brings a student from Rwanda each year. We have a really strong study abroad program in the Gambia, so we're able to have some connections there as well, but really proud of that international number. When you think about being in a classroom, an average classroom of 20 students, that means 2 students in every single classroom are coming from outside of the United States. And so many of our courses are discussion based, and I think it gives such value to that discussion to have a perspective that is so different from your own. Our student to faculty ratio is 13:1. We have over 100 clubs and organizations on campus. There's literally something for everyone. And something else that's kind of unique about Juniata is that we don't have Greek life, so no fraternities and no sororities. When people ask me to describe the Juniata community or the vibe here on campus, I think saying strong and supportive are 2 words that really fit the bill. One of the reasons that I think strong and supportive are great words to use is because each of our students gets 2 academic advisors. So you have 2 kind of faculty cheerleaders on your side that are helping you with the standard things like deciding what classes you're going to take and the progression of those classes, but are also helping you to think about whether study abroad is something that might fit into your academic program, thinking about what internships might give you insight into the career you're thinking about, connecting you with alums or people in the field that can help you to explore those career interests. These are lifelong relationships. I think graduation is a really good indication of how strong those relationships are. It's an exciting day on campus. It's also like very, very sad, and everyone is walking around with tears in their eyes because you're not just leaving your professors or your advisors, you're leaving friends, you're leaving people that you've had meals in their homes or that you've dog sat their pooches or babysat their children. And I think that that really is a big part of that strong supportive community.
Molly, how are those advisors chosen, or how are they assigned?
Yeah, great question. So when you come into Juniata, we'll ask you where you're kind of thinking about your academic interests. You can choose from anything that we have, but you can also tell us that you're exploratory. And so we'll set you up for your first semester kind of automatically based on that academic interest. And then after your first semester, you get to choose if you want to change your advisor. So if you've met someone in the department that you think is a better fit for your interests, you can change your advisor. There's no hard feelings, and people really are trying to help you get the best fit. And then at the end of your first year is when you'll pick your second advisor. And that person can be any other faculty member. Perhaps it's someone that you share a love of a sports team with, or you come from a similar background or hometown, or perhaps you have 2 academic interests, so you want an advisor in both of those. The only rule for your academic advisor is that they can't be in the same academic department as your first advisor. So if you're a biology student, you can have 1 biology advisor, and then that other advisor has to be from any other department on campus.
Got it.
And you can change your advisors as time moves on, as you figure out kind of what you're thinking, what your career goals look like. And again, no hard feelings. And I think that's really important. You're not stuck with anything or anyone. If you continue to develop relationships with other people, we want you to do that. And all students get 2. Most students have like 10 unofficial advisors that they're going to answer all of those questions. A big part of life at Juniata is supporting our students academically. You might be a really successful high school student that's figured out how in your high school world to be academically successful, and things might totally be different in college. And so we are here, whether it's academic coaching, whether it's time management coaching, which can be a huge struggle for first-year students, whether you have a learning difference and you need accommodations to be the most successful that you can be. All of this falls under our kind of learning services, and also includes career development to think about writing resumes, applying for jobs, internships, graduate schools, interview prep. We also have tutors available for every single class that we have on campus. And then we host periodically different sessions about learning strategies and study skills that are available to the entire student body. We also have a writing center on campus. That's something that I wish I had found earlier in my own college experience, to know that there are experts in writing who could read your paper and give you edits before it got to your professor, before it ended up with a grade. It's something that we really push students to get to in their first year. And then we also have library services that are there for you to help you do research, make sure that what you're finding is accurate information. We know how important that is right now in our world. And it's something that we want to instill in students as a skill before they graduate. We are a Colleges That Changes Lives, or one of 45 schools that has that designation. Some of the reasons that we're in the book are because 96% of our students graduate in 4 years. I know that's exciting for students to hear. It's even more exciting for parents and families to hear. Our goal is for you to be in and out in 4 years or less, and we actually have a 4-year graduation guarantee. So we're promising you that this is a 4-year plan. We'd love you to stay forever, but perhaps in an official capacity and not as a forever student. 90% of our students will be either in graduate school or will have a job within 6 months of graduation. That's a number that we're really proud of. We're particularly successful in the health profession. So 85% of our students who apply for a health professions graduate school, whether it's being a PA, a doctor, a dentist, a veterinarian, will be accepted with their first round of applications. That's something that we're super proud of. Another thing that's kind of unique to Juniata is how many of our students go on to get fellowships. So on average, 2 to 3 students a year get Fulbrights, and there are many schools where students get one every 5 years. We really have a deep focus on internationalization, and I think that that helps our students be successful in the Fulbright application process. We also have a really high percentage of students that get Gilman scholarships. That's a national scholarship program that helps students study abroad, and it helps kind of with need-based aid in that process. So we're always checking in with our students. I think that's part of the 2Advisor system as well. If your advisor thinks you might be a good candidate for a Fulbright or a Goldwater, they're going to bring that up to you. I certainly did not know what that was when I went to college, and you don't have to know what it is. Coming to a place like Juniata means that your advisors are thinking about these things for you. And when the time is right, they're going to approach you about it, give you options, talk to you about what this could look like, but they're also going to help you through the entire application process as well, which is super helpful. This is one of my favorite statistics and one of my favorite slides to share. 97% of Juniata graduates say that their preparation relates directly to their present job or graduate program. That's the goal of college, right? Is for you to be able to look back on those 4 years and be able to say, this skill that I have in my job that the people around me are noticing is something that I learned at Juniata. This piece of information that is helping my company be more successful, it's something that I learned at Juniata. And I love that 97% of our students are able to say exactly that. I think it's a thumbs up that we're doing the right thing in the classroom. Something that's really, really unique about Juniata is that we don't have majors and minors. We have a system called the Program of Emphasis, and it really is an opportunity for you to design your own education, for you to be in the driver's seat of what that looks like. And for many students, it's the first time that you have agency in saying what your academic experience looks like. So this is kind of a rough draft of everything that's included within the Program of Emphasis. The most important things to kind of point out here are that everything that's in blue is required and everything else gives you so much choice. So all of our students are going to ultimately do a capstone program. If you're an English student, that might mean doing a 25-page thesis. If you're an integrated media arts student, that might mean creating a film or a series of commercials or short films. If you are a biochem student, it might mean doing a semester or a year of undergraduate mentored research, but it really is tailored to whatever your specific interest is. It's so cool at the end of the year to see students' capstones and see them be able to pull everything they've done over the last 4 years into this final project, and something that's exciting for them to do and is within their wheelhouse versus something, you know, for that integrated media arts student, that 25-page thesis paper may not be what's in their wheelhouse. And it also may not be something that is appealing to an employer when they go to do a job interview, but being able to show projects that they've completed and that they've started from scratch, kind of inception to completion, is something that's going to be helpful for them in that employer interview process. Another example is our museum studies students put on every spring semester. The seniors do a full curation of our museum. So how cool that they get to put that on their resume, and that's the grade that they're getting for their capstone, but is also something that they can put in their portfolio to show graduate programs and interview committees to show and not just tell that they can do that kind of work. Another big focus for us in our curriculum is helping students to recognize what local engagement looks like and what global engagement looks like, to know what it means to be a citizen of your small community, whether that be the Juniata community, the Huntingdon community, the Pennsylvania community, but also what it means to be a member of the world, right? And a citizen of the world. That's something that we're really proud of, and being able to see both of those things, I think is a really good reflection for each of them. About a third of our students will truly individualize their own program of emphasis. This means that they are creating something completely from scratch. And what's great about this is if you were to Google global gender conflict, for example, you probably wouldn't get any schools that offer global gender conflict as a major or as an academic department or program. And yet here, that's absolutely a possibility. I think that a place like Juniata is so great for students who are exploring so many different things. We actually don't have undecided as a part of the language that we use on campus. We say exploratory because almost always typical undecided students actually have decided that they love a lot of things and they want to explore them. So that's kind of where we got that exploratory language. We want you to have that opportunity. We want you to take advantage of all of the offerings that we have on campus because we're confident that you're going to find something that you love within your 4 years here. And you might find lots of things that you love. And that's when you come together with kind of these longer program of emphasis titles.
So Molly, do people ever follow someone, like someone creates
Absolutely.
this and then the next student says, wow, that student just created something I want to do?
Yeah. So that's a great question. Some of the programs that you see here, zoology is an example of that. And it's one that kind of lives on our website now that students can search for and can continue to follow. Probably the very best example of that is our integrated media arts program. It started about a decade ago with one student doing that program with sort of the advent of graphic design, web design, things like that. And it's obviously gotten more popular. And 2 years ago, we actually opened our newest academic building dedicated to integrated media arts. Cool. So within a decade, it went from something that didn't exist to something that a few students did, that then more students wanted to do. And now it's an entire building. And I think that that shows that, yes, we are a liberal arts school, but we're very in tune with what's happening in 2020 and what's coming in the future and preparing our students for those kinds of roles and responsibilities. Great question. Something that we're deeply committed to here at Juniata is giving students access to high impact practices. This can include things like undergraduate mentored research, internships, studying abroad or studying in a location within the United States outside of Juniata, and also community engaged learning. Mentored undergraduate research is something that I remember as a high school senior hearing all the time, but having like no understanding of what that was. My only research, right, had been dissecting the frog in 7th grade, which I thought was gross and terrible and not an experience I wanted to replicate. It turns out you can do research in any academic discipline. So 18 of our academic disciplines offer courses built into the progression that give you access to undergraduate research opportunities. A great example of this is our psychology program. In your sophomore year, if you're a psychology student, you will take a class that pairs you with a professor and allows you to do research on a project that they're doing, the kind of a long-term big project. And so you get to try it out. You get to decide, is research something that I'm interested in? And if it is, you can continue working with that professor, or maybe you find one that you're more connected to in terms of interest. And if research is not what you're interested in, then it gives you time to pivot and think about other internship opportunities that you might want to take. But I love that we build it into the curriculum and give all of our students access to that work. One of our favorite traditions here on campus happens in April of every year. It's called the Juniata College Liberal Arts Symposium. It's a day that students get, all classes are canceled. And instead of holding classes, there are research discussions that are happening from 9 to 5 the entire day. My first year here at Juniata, when I heard all classes were canceled, I was like, well, why? No students are going to go to these research talks. I was completely wrong. The rooms were full. It really is standing room only. And it's so cool to see students watching their peers, to see first year students watching seniors give these 15-minute presentations about these unique research topics that they're working on, and to be able to see what research means, right? What is possible within your 4 years here at Juniata. It really is one of my favorite days on campus. I try to avoid all of the hard science ones because they just go right over my head, but I'm so into the social science ones. And it's great that you get to pick and choose and kind of go to things that you connect with or that you would be interested in studying yourself. Internships are also huge at Juniata. About 80% of our students will do at least one before they graduate. This map shows where we offer internships in the past year within the United States. We also do a great job of connecting students who want to study abroad with internships to add to their study abroad experience. So this is far from a comprehensive list, but I think gives you an idea of what is possible, at least across the United States. Study abroad is also huge at Juniata. About 50% of our students will go at least once. On a personal note, it's my biggest regret in college that I didn't study abroad. The idea of being gone for a full semester was too much for me. I couldn't imagine being away from campus and everything that was happening there for a full semester. So one of the things that I really love and appreciate about Juniata is that we have so many short-term programs. So you might go for 3 weeks to Vietnam in January in between the fall and spring semesters. You might go right after the spring semester ends in May to China for 3 weeks and do a tour of businesses in China. And then you actually end the trip by going to a panda sanctuary. But there are all of these short-term trips where you're going with Juniata faculty, you're going with Juniata students, you're literally getting on the plane together, you're getting off the plane together, you're going through customs together. And I think it really builds confidence in our students that they can do the full semester long immersive study abroad program. And I think it's why we see such high participation in study abroad.
Are there other things that students would be doing during that short-term period besides study? Wait, is that something that everyone does something during between, or is that an
It's
option?
not required. No,
Got it.
just some options. We also offer some short-term classes if you want to take one during that time, but you don't need to do so in order to graduate on time. It's just kind of an option for students if they want an opportunity like that.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Some students need the break, right? And I totally appreciate that. And some students don't want the break, right? They want to keep moving. So we offer all of those opportunities. The short-term trips are also a great way for students to see a ton of places within their 4 years here. So it's for a student who has kind of bit the travel bug and is excited about studying abroad. It is not rare for them to have gone on like 3 or 4 short-term trips in addition to their semester-long program. And I think what better way to see the world than to go with people who are in your peer group, right? With a professor that's an expert in the country, and at the rate of a college student. It really is like the best of all worlds. One of our newest trips is studying the culture of Barbados and learning about rum culture, learning about the food there. And I'm like, do you need a chaperone? Because I'm happy to attend that trip. Yeah. Community engaged learning is also a huge part of the curriculum here and one of those high impact practices that we offer students. These are some of the options that you'll see on the slide. Some of our other options within our integrated media arts program, we have a course where you're partnered with a local business in town. So one of my favorite stories about that class is we had a student that partnered with our local cupcake shop, and she totally renovated the website, allowed people to order online versus having to call in, really made it up to date and it was at the time in 2018. But the very best part of the project was that she had to photograph one of every cupcake flavor. So she called her favorite admission counselors and we could go down and then taste a little bit of all of the cupcake flavors. But it's so cool because the owner of the shop, her name is Jana, she was able to see an increase in people ordering. She was able to see an increase in her sales and her revenue, an increase in foot traffic even. And so it made real consequences for a small business in our own community. And it also gave that student a URL that she could say, I built this, when she went on to apply for jobs. So it's kind of mutually beneficial, not only for the shop owner, for our student, but also I think for the town and the community at large. And that's the goal when we think about these community engaged experiences. Athletics and traditions. So we are a Division III school. We have 23 varsity sports. Our newest sports are men's and women's lacrosse, men's and women's golf, and then we added men's swimming to we formerly only had a women's swim team. Other than that, we kind of have a little bit of everything. Our men's and women's volleyball programs are extraordinary. They have won 8 national championships between the two of them. So it's cool to be able to watch your lab partner, play on ESPN. That's a pretty unique experience. We've had 135 students who have gone on to be All-Americans, and about a third of our students are involved in either one or maybe more, but generally one varsity athletic team. In terms of traditions, we have 1,000 of them, it feels like. I talked about Liberal Arts Symposium that happens every April. You can also Google Storming of the Arch to see some very funny videos of people trying to run through an arch that's protected by our rugby team and our entire upper class population. You'll also see photos here from Madrigal, which is a kind of formal dinner dance that happens at the end of the fall semester, where students get to pick who they eat with, and then they get to pick what staff or faculty member they get served dinner by. So you can pick your favorite professor, or you can pick your professor that gave you the most homework. But either way, you get to order them around for the whole night. And it's cool for us as faculty and staff to be able to see students kind of in their own natural environment and to see you and engage with you outside of our classic offices or classrooms. But it's a really fun night and one of those traditions that's been going on, I feel like, forever. One of our other traditions, probably our most popular, is called Mountain Day. It's a surprise day in the fall semester where all of our classes get canceled. You find out at 5 a.m. because students run through the halls screaming, banging pots and pans, using air horns. Then you go back to sleep because no one needs to be up at that hour. And then around 9 or 10, we all get on buses and go to a secret location where there's a giant party. It actually started about 100 years ago because there was a smallpox outbreak on campus. And so they told everyone that was healthy, get off campus for the next 5 days while we kind of help everyone who is sick here. So when COVID happened and we had to send our students home, the first thing they wanted was a spring Mountain Day. So we're hoping that by spring we can start having our second Mountain Day and have one every semester. In terms of the nuts and bolts of admission, we are available on both the Coalition and the Common App. We don't have an application fee. I hope that makes your life a little bit easier. And then we have 3 different decision deadlines. Remember, early decision is binding. So if Juniata is your favorite school and you're absolutely committed to coming, early decision might be a great option for you. If you're ready to submit your application early and you want to hear back early action is a great decision round for you. And then if you're late to finding Juniata, we do accept applications through March 15th. So there's definitely time. When we think about whether or not an applicant should be admitted, these are the things that we're looking at. And the number one question that we're asking is this student going to be successful? That means academically, that means socially, and we're looking towards your college graduation day, which might seem really far off, but it's actually going to come quite soon. So our goal is to admit students who are going to walk across the stage in 4 years or less with a diploma in their hand and a smile on your face. We want this to be the place that you want to be. And that's the community that we've created here. So we'll review your application, your transcript, your essay, your letters of recommendation. And then we do have kind of a complicated relationship with standardized testing. We've been test optional since 1998. So that's longer than many of you have been alive, which is wild. But it means that we are really well versed in reading test optional applications. So this is nothing new for us. I know many of you are struggling to take those tests. And so I hope that this gives you some relief. You can apply without them. You will qualify for all of our scholarships without applying, without sending those test scores. So there's so much to worry about right now. Don't let standardized testing be the thing that takes up so much of your brain space.
Thank you for saying that.
Absolutely.
It's a
I will
very
tell you,
big.
I applied test optional to college. I thought it was a trick, like that it was like, you know, just a way to get more applications, or that they were going to be like, just kidding, we can't admit you if you don't have these scores. Turns out it's not a trick. And there are more and more schools each year that are allowing students to apply test optional. I would say without a doubt that my best performance on anything does not happen at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning. And it certainly was not happening at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning when I was 17 years old. So we are so much more interested in what you are able to do every single day of high school than what you're able to do on one cold, early Saturday morning. We also have a ton of scholarships that are available. All of our students are evaluated for merit-based scholarships when they apply, and those range from about $15,000 to $30,000 per year. And we're looking at all of your application materials when we make that scholarship determination. Another one that I want to point out is our Juniata Community Scholarship. If you know someone who's a Juniata alum, they can submit a scholarship on your behalf, and it's $1,000 every single year that you're here. It's a great way to learn who is a Juniata alum in your network or your family's network, and to hear from them what their Juniata experience was like, and to get $1,000 a year. It's the easiest $1,000 you'll ever make. In terms of financial planning, we encourage you to do the net price calculator. That will give you the best estimate of what you would pay as a student at Juniata. We also recommend that you fill out the FAFSA and send that to us. And we do have a 4-year conditional guarantee. So you can expect that price to remain the same for all 4 years unless there's a dramatic change in your family's income. Another thing to point out is that we do not attach a GPA requirement to your scholarship. So you don't need to maintain a 4.0 to keep the scholarship that we're given. If you were a great high school student, you're going to continue to be a great college student, and we trust that. We don't need to add the extra stress of keeping an unattainable GPA for you to keep that scholarship. We want you to focus on taking chances and taking classes that maybe you haven't had exposure to before, and not just stay on the easiest path so you can maintain that scholarship. So I really like that about our model as well. Then we have a ton of ways that you can visit. You can visit us in person. We're offering 6 visit times every day. So depending on where you are and what your state's laws look like or regulations look like, we'd love for you to be on campus. We are entirely on campus right now, our whole student body. So you would do a one-on-one tour with one of our current student tour guides. But we also have a ton of virtual opportunities as well. You can sign up for a conversation with your admission counselor if you just want to talk about nuts and bolts. We have different info sessions, open houses, department days, opportunities for you to connect directly with faculty members. Anything you want to see, we're happy to show you. We really trust who we are and what we have to offer, and we want you to be able to do so as well. And the only way to trust what we are is for you to experience it yourself. And that's Juniata in a nutshell.
That was awesome. So much information, Molly. It was really great. And actually, it just makes me want to come back even more to just come back and see the campus. And I love that, you know, there's a lot of things that you shared where you're, that I don't know if people watching or students in general would understand how significant some of the things are. Like, for example, your graduation rate. I mean, that's incredible for a 4-year graduation rate. So again, I don't know that people understand that's really high compared to the vast majority of institutions. And also things like the stacking of the scholarships, the just these kind of small facts that you gave that might sound like, oh, that's a great fact to know, but it's pretty distinct about Juniata, you know. I think it's great.
And I
So
think it's it's some of those things that you want to know early on, but until you hear about them, you don't know to ask those questions.
absolutely. Well, and so in one last question I would have is, so if students are interested in trying to arrange a one-on-one chat with their admission counselor, do you just have like a map or something on your website? How do they find out who their admission
Yep, you'll
counselor
just
is?
go to the Juniata website, click visit, and you'll see virtual counselor conversation, and then you'll see all of the times that we're available.
Okay. And actually one more question that is kind of along those same lines. So does Juniata track demonstrated interest? Is that important to you in the review process?
Yeah, I think we have a complicated relationship with demonstrated interest as well. I think that it helps us to know who's interested and who's really kind of doing their research. This is a unique place. It's not a place that everybody knows about, and we love that about ourselves. So in terms of admission, I don't think that we necessarily track demonstrated interest. When we're looking to give additional scholarship money, I think it can come into play, knowing that we want to give it to people who are really excited about Juniata and would be excited to get that additional scholarship.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah,
thank you. That was very helpful. Well, I
absolutely.
am so appreciative that you took the time today because I know that you guys are crazy busy and lots of uncertainty about what the next year might look like, but fingers crossed that everything is back to normal. But I'm glad to hear that you guys are doing well on campus and that, you know, the students are able to come back and have somewhat of a sense of normalcy. So that's good.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think while there is so much that's up in the air, I think what is not up in the air is our commitment to individual students, our interest in getting to know students on a one-on-one level. And I think the test optional piece is huge. We've been doing this, it feels like forever. So it's not new to us. And I think that we have a process that we've been doing for years that's been working really well. So I understand the fear and anxiety students and families have about, how to get into a testing site, but for us, it really is okay not to send them.
Yeah, and I think students and families are surprised when they hear from schools that have already been test optional for a long, I mean, you've been test
Yeah,
optional for a long time,
yeah,
and that this isn't, you know, it's a new phenomenon for some schools, but for many schools, they know how to review applicants in the absence of testing. So I think,
absolutely.
I think I've been just telling students that the admission officers, when they're reviewing files, they're looking for reasons to admit, not to deny. And so,
Absolutely.
I think if someone's taken a test and they've done, incredibly well, great. It's another, positive point. But I think to your point about just stressing out about, trying to get a test date in, and also if they're just, they're uncomfortable about the testing environment, even, I think, there's plenty of schools now that are understanding this. And my
Absolutely.
guess is that we'll see a lot more schools continue on beyond this,
I feel
that.
like every day we're seeing new ones. Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm thankful that you took the time to chat with us and share more
absolutely.
about Juniata. And if anyone's interested in learning more, please don't hesitate to reach out to their staff. They're obviously very, very welcoming and kind, just like
Yeah,
Molly, and willing to share information.
absolutely.
And good luck to you, Molly, as you go through the
Thank
next
you.
cycle. Thanks.